I'm not sure that this is appropriate material for loving lamb, but it might be. So the last time I gave a BBC, I talked about the research in the medical world on the direct links between drinking alcohol and cancer. It's indisputed now. And as I continue to think about this topic, today I'm going to talk about the effect it has on our mind and why people drink and how we can be more informed about stepping away from that in this life and all future lives. So, maybe I'll start like this. You go to a place, someone says, "Here, have this." In no time, your speech will be slurred. Someone else says, "Here," at another situation, "have this." In no time, your inhibitions will go. You'll be saying all kinds of things that you didn't plan on saying and doing all kinds of things that you didn't plan on doing if you drink this. So an example, and I know that we all have personal examples from our own life and observing others. So I'm going to talk about others. But it may remind you of something that you have done in the past. So the inhibitions were gone. A group of my friends in high school, they all happened to be young boys, about 16. They had done this without thinking about the consequences, and they decided to remove all of their clothes and put on balaclavas and streak through a banquet where there were about 150 people there in the town, including all of their parents. And so, of course, the parents look at these naked bodies running through the place, and all of them in their own turn going like this, because they just recognized their son's body. Their sons were charged with mischief, and then, the reputation that still people are talking about continues to this day. So someone else says, "Here, have this." Drinking of that, you'll have salute reactions. "Here, have some of this." You'll be really confused. "Here, have some of this." Your memory is going to be affected, maybe forever. Strong chance of dementia. The activities of the previous evening are then disclosed to you at later times, of which you have no memory of, by people you know and don't know. "Here, have some of this." You'll have difficulty concentrating. "Here, this will impair your motor skills." "Here, this will make you say ridiculous, harmful words that you will regret until you learn a purification practice." I remember years ago at a family wedding reception. It was in a relative's backyard. It was a beautiful summer night. It was festive and harmonious, and of course there was the beverage tent. And one of my uncles was the bartender. Well, not only was he serving beverages to the gathered assembly, but he was also testing all of the choices there throughout the evening. And then at one point, and I had long gone home, apparently he started talking politics with one of my cousin's friends. And of course, it evolved into a shouting match in no time. And then apparently my uncle reached over and popped the young guy in the nose, and the party sort of ended there. Amazingly, no police were called, no charges were laid, amazingly. So the list of things that we do under the influence of alcohol are endless. And I think what I find most profoundly sad in all of this is then looking at the reasons why we used to drink, why people still drink. And there's been a lot of research done on this too. I mean, who needs the research, really? Because we're all going to identify what's being said here. And since the 60s, with some research that was done by Mulford and Miller, right up to the present day, it always comes back down to these two factors. The one of them being is to use alcohol to escape, avoid, or regulate unpleasant emotions. So we've got to get away from it, right? I'm stressed. I'm so stressed. I need a break. I need to just relax. relax. And the other reason is drinking to be sociable. So that includes, being convivial, getting together at a celebration, wanting to have a good time with others. And then, of course, if you're really stressed, everyone knows, and it goes in line with this research too, that if you're really stressed and you're drinking to reduce your stress, life is getting more and more stressful, so you're going to be drinking more and more often because you're stressed most of the time. And then if you're drinking just to be social, then there's all kinds of situations. I can think of almost no situations in my earlier life where there wasn't alcohol present. So there was always opportunities to drink. It was just what people do without asking. But I think as, people getting serious about taking advantage of this precious human life that we have, or maybe you're just not even religious, just starting to look seriously at the question, why do I drink? And actually starting with, what does it mean to be happy? And this is the Buddhist worldview. We have no clue. Until meeting the Buddhist teachings, I'll speak for myself, I had no clue really what brought happiness and what brought suffering. And so I did what I saw everyone else in my life was doing, and that was drinking alcohol. But then really look at it. Does even 1 ounce of alcohol bring the results that we want? And you can do the research on your own. We've all done it. Most of us in this room, we've done the research. And it's clearly, no, it does not. It doesn't bring the results we're looking for. So I can remember as a teenager, we had this really great teacher in grade 12. And he was probably maybe only 8 years older than us. And he was really good looking. And so all the girls were always noticing about how good looking he was. And that made the boys in our class really mad because we weren't talking about how good looking they were. We're talking about this good looking teacher that we really liked. And his famous repetitive saying to us day in and day out was just, hey, everybody, relax. Relax. Would you please relax? We had no clue what that meant. So we all thought that meant be quiet. But we had no clue what relax meant, and I think probably he didn't either. And I'm wondering how many people in the world really know what does it mean to relax? How do we do it? We can show you here at the Abbey. We can take you out into the forest. We'll teach you meditation. Venerable Children looks like she's going to say something. We can show you this, and then you can compare it to your other experiences of what you thought relax meant. And then what does it mean to be happy? The advertising industry has got the alcohol part nailed. They've had it nailed for decades. You see beautiful young people smiling, playing on the beach, drinking this and that. It's so pervasive, and we think that that is going to bring happiness. So whether you're thinking of taking refuge in precepts or not, even if you're not, there's a wonderful, beautiful resource on thubtenchildren.org that you can download for free, and it's called the Refuge Resource Book. And the book is a collection of essays that Venerable Children has put together over time from various teachers, including herself, and Thich Nhat Hanh, and Thanissaro Bhikkhu, and other Buddhist teachers, all talking about what it means to take refuge. And then there's a section at the back of the book where there's questions posed about each of the precepts that you can choose to take. So the questions that are posed about thinking about taking the 5th precept, which is the one that seems to be often the stumbling block for people, which is refraining from intoxicants, and that includes alcohol, drugs, tobacco, and misuse of prescription drugs. So these questions are wonderful. And if you have taken refuge in precepts and you're still struggling with this one, spend time with these questions. I'm going to read them out, but you can download the book and go through them in your meditation session and really look at this. So the first one is do a life review of your use of intoxicants. What was your motivation for using these? What were the results of using them for yourself and for others? Second question, what would be most challenging for you about refraining? Third question, what kind of situations are you likely to find yourself in when it could be challenging to keep this precept? And what ideas do you have for avoiding such situations or dealing with the challenges you face in them? And the last question. We think that alcohol and or drugs will be fun and will bring us happiness. Discuss some of the unintended consequences of drug and alcohol use. So those are really fabulous questions to spend time with. And even if you're long gone past the use of alcohol, it's really good to go to these questions as a way of cultivating compassion for others who are still struggling with this, who are so caught in the confusion of what it means to be happy and wanting to fit in and how to deal with my stress. And people are doing this choice because they don't have any other options right now. They don't know what else to do. They haven't been taught other ways of finding, relaxation, connecting with others, being in a happy mental state. And so, of course, as a Buddhist, or maybe you're considering being a Buddhist, there's a wonderful section in Volume 2 in the volumes in the Library of Wisdom and Compassion series by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Venerable Children. And I thought I'd read a passage from the end of the chapter that deals with precious human life. And so they write, each sentient being wants happiness. A worldly perspective leads us to believe that it is found by possessing certain things, being close to specific people, and gaining acceptance and reputation. A Dharma perspective proposes seeking happiness in transforming our mind and heart and cultivating our wisdom and good heart. Dharma practitioners seek happiness in a more reliable way by expanding our motivation to include the long-term welfare of all sentient beings. The Buddha speaks of the joy a sincere practitioner derives from Dharma practice. By living ethically, he or she experiences within themselves a bliss that is blameless. Living an ethical life enables us to be free from guilt and remorse and to feel good about ourselves and our actions. By restraining the sense faculties so that the mind is not continuously running here and there in search of temporary pleasure, he or she experiences within themselves a bliss that is unsullied, that arises from acting with mindfulness and introspective awareness. So at the very least, I think we should be profoundly aware of the sphere of influence that we all have. We may think it's very little, I have my family, I have my job, I go to this club, but actually, we are affecting everyone all the time. And just think about the fact that at the next family get-together, be aware of the fact that your young nieces and nephews are like well-trained spies. They're looking at you very carefully, and they are noticing if you're drinking or not. And they'll notice it because you're the one that wants to play with them. And you're the one that's showing them, what it means to look happy, to be authentically happy, and not be doing what the rest of the crowd is doing. That is lifelong information for them. And it's the same thing at work. There might be a colleague of yours that is desperately wondering how the heck to quit at these social functions that happen at work. And here you are having tea or juice or water. You're clearly having a lovely time, and you're not getting into the same boat the rest of the people are getting themselves into that will often produce a lifetime of regrets. So I think to be very aware and not in a, not to be sort of nervous about it or even conceited about the fact that I'm not drinking alcohol, but to just be aware that, when I make this choice, I am really starting to be able to take hold of this mind that is totally out of control. I'm speaking for myself. And that I want to make progress in my spiritual practice. I want to have a positive impact on others. And the way to do that is to have a clear and calm, joyful mind. So let's do that for others and ourselves. Don't do it, loving lamb.